Good morning, retail traders. How are we doing today? We're going to go off and talk about the watch list for today. I prepared a 2024 watch list yesterday in the room, and I'm going to kind of go over some of them. Right now, we've got Nile on top of the list. I have real high hopes for Nile this year. It came out with a new car or something. Nile did. So we've definitely got it on watch. If we pull up the 20-day, 1 hour time frame, we're about to hit resistance. And if you pull up the yearly, we've got a ways to go. So I think, 1123 is going to be our goal to break. And if we can break that, we should probably move up into the next resistance level somewhere right around 1242. And on the body of that count, well, actually 1271 to 1242, somewhere in that area right in there. But we got to pass through this here support, this resistance level of 953 to 1004. And then we've got a good climb to a pivot point on the chart, which I think is right around 1059. And then just keep on moving up. Hold support right around the 65 or maybe even the 51 EMA on the daily chart. Tesla, I have high hopes for Tesla too this year. I think production numbers are going to be good. GM and Ford are having difficulties. The only competition they really have is Nile and XPEV. So, yeah, I think definitely you'll hear all kinds of rhetoric about Tesla. It's number one in my book. Then we got Intel. It had that magnificent news about Israel. This should settle down a little bit, pull back some, and then go ahead and retrace into next year. But definitely bullish. I was bullish on this. I called it out off the 200 when we hit the 200, and it's done nothing but run up ever since. This is an old timer, and it's due. Coin's had one hellacious run. I like to see it pull back some, consolidate, maybe right around 153.80. Right now we're at 172.05. Baba, I'm still a little bullish on China. Not real bullish, but we hit a pretty good solid support area, and I want to keep China, this one in mind. If you draw a trend line from the low to that low, we're raising right above it right now, and we had a little head and shoulders right here. So if it breaks on out, target 84.11. K-Web should be doing good. That internet, we got a 123 on K-Web. I think we can bounce back up and hit the 200 right around 27.88. XPEV, that's another car company in China. Right now we're hovering off the 200, and I think it's good to go to run it up to around 1558. IWM to me is the one that's the most oversold, and this is the one I'd probably watch into 2024. We are starting to reach a pivot point area, and that's right around 208.33. We got AMD on the watch list for next year. I really like AMD. I think we're going to calipote up to 157 and then find some resistance level, pull back some, and then bounce off this head and shoulders, and then go ahead for the third time and break that 157.63. NVIDIA, you're going to see your 650 next year. Definitely. There's so many bulls on this company. And it's consolidated long enough. It's ready to go ahead and break out. Now let me see, I thought I put 10 cent on here. Well, I did not. FedEx, I'm in this one long, or at least until the 19th of January. I do believe we got way oversold on this company. And right now I'm up about $100 a contract. UNH, same way. Healthcare, I think it's something that we really got to watch. And energy next year. I'm bullish on this one right here. I'm not in the trade yet. I do think we're going to consolidate. If it pulls back to 500, that's a strong buy to the 200. But I don't know about that. Right now, I've got a low support of 521.11, and we hit 520. So, Humana, same reason. I like this Humana a lot. I traded it last time when we were down here, and everybody was very bearish, and it was just on rumor. I do believe this thing's going to bounce back up. Although I'm kind of upset with Humana because of my health care, but they say you can keep your doctor. That's not the case. So that's kind of it. Let me think, is anything on the top of my head? Yeah, CHRS had news today. I think this is going to pull back and have a little knife and then have an opportunity maybe to pick it up right around 265, or maybe even if it crinks on down, got a lower support here at 245. These are my 3 buy zones for this stock right now. Whoops. 245 and 234 is the buy zone. Support area, hold, stay bullish, is 265. This one had good news, FDA approved. One to watch. Mara had a pullback yesterday, and it bounced back up pretty nicely. I always like to keep them on watch, both Mara and Riot. I'm going to put this on my top 20 watch list. And that's not top 20 no more. What happens if I go through these and they're not producing, they don't have any volume, I'll go ahead and take them off the watch list. Anything else? Let's look at the pre-market runners. Let me get me another one. EV car sector next year, I'm only going to stick with the top 3 or 4. You know, I like Rivian. I like XPEV. I love Tesla. And Nile, I think, is going to have a good year next year. It's not been doing very well. And I did a video on BYDDF. This was a Buffett play. And I think he's still in it. I'm not sure, but he's been selling. And we are definitely down here at a 1, 2, 3. And it needs to hold support off the 200 and run back up and hit the 50 SMA on the weekly time frame. And that's BYDDF, BYD. Rivian's a real good company. I think Rivian will bounce up too. It'll be Rivian, Tesla, Nile, and XP are my top 4. FUV, I remember trading this a while back. This one's kind of had a heartache. Blink. Here's another good one. We had a breakout on it. We had a 1, 2, 3 breakout. And now our target is this 200 up here at 524 on the daily time frame. Blink. Don't blink. XPEV is a China company. I really like their car. Right now we're sitting at the 200, so it needs to hold support. I do have a double bottom right here at 1328. But if it holds the 200, we'll jump back up and hit the shoulder line of this inverse head and shoulders right around 1550. You see the head? You got the left shoulder. We had the right shoulder. We broke down, hit the 200. So this is a good setup. XPEV. Keep a good eye on XPEV. Now I'm going to go to the daily highs. This is kind of what my routine is every morning when I'm checking out sticks. You know, the percentage gainer. See what's breaking out this morning. I don't see anything in here. This BP, I was doing some homework on it. I think this is a good one to be watching. Add to your watch list. It's a big company. Watch banks. Banks are going to have a good little run. They've already had the run. I mean, I talked about banks a couple months back, and I said, man, these banks are cheap. Well, they're not cheap anymore. They're definitely coming up here and hitting resistance levels. So once they do that, they're going to consolidate, pull back, have some kind of small correction, and then maybe continue with the run. But banks, nailed the banks. I mean, the banks were cheap. So was airlines when I called them out. But these banks, they had one heck of a run from the bottom call that I called on them. It was just too easy to explain. One, the interest rates, you know, with the Fed came out, and before he talked, I said, I don't think they're going to be raising these rates anymore. And that really got me into these. The Goldman Sachs, all the way from 289 to 381 in 2 months. I mean, this is irrational exuberance at its highest point. And we can't go higher. We could draw a trend line, I'd tell you exactly where it's going to go. Now, you know, I'm a master artist, so I use the bodies of the candles to get in key with the heat of the moment. So we take and we draw that little candle right there, and your target's going to be right around 394. If we break, I mean, we're at a shoulder line of a three-headed snake. This is your left shoulder, this is your right shoulder, and we've made up with that right shoulder. So this is really a hard resistance, and it could pull back to the next previous high, and that's going to be right around 373. And I'm going to put an alert in there and alert this out when we hit it. But the banks have definitely had a good run, and I'm very proud of this call. Morgan Stanley, same thing. We were down here at the bottom. I said, any bank you pick, you're probably going to make some money on. Now, airlines, next year, I really think the banks are on fire. We call this inverse head and shoulders. Almost every trade I take anymore is an inverse head and shoulders. Almost every trade I take, 95% of the trades I take or 90% are inverse head and shoulders. I really like this pattern for a reversal into the bull market. UAL, this is the weekly time frame. We got the left shoulder head, pulled back to the right shoulder, boom, to the 200. So that's at a resistance. Once you hit that 200, you got to consolidate, regain double top, and then break out. AAL's the worst one of them all, and it even bounced up. Inverse head and shoulders, boom. They can run up to the 200, and that'd be about it. It's the worst of all. You got Delta inverse headed shoulders with a two-headed snake, left, right, right. Bounced up past the 200, hit a resistance level somewhere right around in here somewhere, 45.13. It needs to consolidate. They all need to consolidate. The fat cats are very bullish because any headline, and we got earnings coming up in 3 weeks. So that's going to be the catalyst to bring this market up higher. If the earnings are even 51% better than 50, I mean, if they're at 51% good, the market's going to take it overwhelmingly in good taste. They're taking small little, quote, anything that is positive, they're going to run with it. And we're in the middle of a world war, and inflation hasn't dropped one bit. I was paying $5 for a head of lettuce, almost 2 years of it. I kept complaining, man. I said, you ain't going to sell this. The shit's going to sit there and rot. Who's going to pay $5 for a scrawny piece of head of lettuce? Onion, if you wanted to buy an onion, you're going to pay about $2.50 for an onion. I mean, it's just outrageous, the food prices. Meat has gone up almost 80% here in Missouri. I was paying around, I'd get a pack of meat for about $8-9. Now I'm going to be looking at 17 to 20, the same size. Trash bags, I was paying 12, now I'm paying 17. These prices ain't going to drop. We're just going to have to live with it. So we got airlines and we got energy. Now, with the Red Sea the way it is right now, we've had a little pullback in oil. I think we're going to consolidate and get back to 75 if we're not there by now. XOM. And you got the big fat cat. I mean, this is pulled back too to support level. I got a support channel here right around 99.30. We need to hold that with the bodies of these candles. Now, I've done this here chart way before this last 4 weeks. So that's what we got to watch. We got to watch that support. Make sure it holds. And if we break the 51, we're going to run back up to the top. Now, Oxy is a Buffett trade. He's got 27% stake in this company now. And I would assume that he's going to, the next bounce, probably he'll start selling some of it. I'm assuming. We called 1, 2, 3, had a nice little run. Now we're back to that support level, which is a double, triple bottom. We got a 1, 2, 3. So hard resistance is 67.34. Solid support is going to be that triple bottom right around 55.21. If it doesn't hold that, it's going to be a good drop. Good drop. His average cost, I think, is $56, 57, somewhere in that area. So he's definitely up on this trade. He's got a lot of money in this company. So I think that's about it. I want to look at pre-market movers. Right now we've got CHRS, which is the one I was talking about that had that FDA approval. I think I'll definitely trade this today if we can pull back and hit this first support. I like scalping stuff like this, but I never chase. Now, I know traders that do, and they get stuck in them. I wait for the pattern, and right now we've got what you call a symmetrical flag right here. So we draw this in. We draw this in, and we've broke out of that flag, came back and hit the 51 and broke out of that flag. So, I'm going to put a support line, an alert right on that, on top of that flag, and get just a little bit above it. I traded these pennies for many years, so I know how to trade them. There just hasn't been the market for it here in the last couple. It's been a wild, wild run. We had to sell off in 2022 and the run up in 2023, and the pennies didn't do nothing. But I'm definitely going to be watching this one today. Second on the list is Nile. Now everybody's starting to pump Nile. Not pump it, but alerting it. But I think Nile's really going to have a good chance next year. Mara, this is a scalping trade for me. We definitely hit some hard resistance levels. This thing's really popped up real good. Called us at the bottom. We have some room to run. We definitely have some room to run. We got to break 2680. 2680 is my number, and if we do that, we can get it up to about 31. Now, if it doesn't hold, strong buy. I have already registered in here right around 20 bucks, 1983. That's a triple top breakout. Like I said, I play patterns, and the triple top is a pattern, so this thing could come back down and hit that triple top, and that's a real good strategy to have on your list. Triple top breaks, always pull back to the triple top. Oh, not always, but everything, nothing's always. 90% of the time. And NVIDIA, we're going to see the 600 next year. There's so many pumpers on this stock. I mean, this thing's the biggest pump at all. And we nailed these support levels right around 404. Every time it pulled back, it hit that 404. And now we're starting to hit higher highs. So I think we'll get higher lows. And you can clearly see the pivot point in this chart. And I'm going to set an alert right there at that pivot point area. Pivot point is an equilibrium in a channel. 442 would be a very strong buy. If we see that, that's where I'd set my alert. Very strong buy. Apple. Now, they've been pumping Apple real hard. Apple's a stock that could never really be bullish past 150, 155. And you can tell in the last couple of years we've had a pretty good substantial breakout from that area. And they're pumping Apple right now. The Apple Watch is bad news. They said, what they say, they'll lose 138 million a week. And I'm going, what? Especially when they're not, bringing in, their quarters aren't looking very good at all. So this Apple Watch is a big deal, I think, in my opinion, but they kept bringing it's only 2% of their earnings. It's only 2% of the earnings. Well, they've been pumping this Apple Watch for years. So when it comes out bad news about Apple and it gets banned and, it's only 2%. It's not a big deal. And we're about done here. They were pumping, yesterday CNBC was pumping gambling, all the gambling stocks. They're going to open up a big casino in New York. So they were all over it all day long. To me, I wouldn't invest in something like that, but Microsoft, it's a good one for next year. I think I put it on my watch list. There it is. Microsoft, we called the bounce off the 200. We nailed the bounce off the 200 back in last September. I mean, it was a beautiful double bottom here on Microsoft. I love the 200 SMA in any time frame that I use, from a 1 minute all the way to the 1 hour, all the way to the weekly, all the way to the yearly, daily. I really put that 200 SMAs in all my charts. For example, we got the 1 minute right here. It's acting as a pivot point area on Microsoft. If I was to day trade it, I would know once it's like a VWAP, more or less. And the VWAP only measures 20 days. So let me think of something else. Solar. FSLR, First Solar. Pulled back and hit, well, that's not This is what I'm talking about. See the 200 SMA? It acted as a pivot point area. We hit resistance. Once we broke down below it, it became a resistance level. And once we broke above it, it became a support level. And you see this all the time. And I've added the 300 in here, SMA, just in case that fails. And I've got the 51. I'm a moving average. The Sneaky Snake trading strategy is all about moving averages, chart patterns, and being in the now. Shipping containers. Nile. Interesting thing about Nile is they bought this big shipping container to ship the cars because shipping got so expensive under the Biden regime and the war on energy and the war on gas combustion cars, the war on America. So this is definitely a pivot point area on FSLR, just on the 1 minute. So that needs to kind of hold support. I like to watch Weight Watchers this time of the year. After the holiday seasons, people like to shed them pounds and get ready for the bikinis. Called this out here in the room a couple weeks ago, and we've had a bounce off the support line of right around 674. Right now we're at right around 9. So I'm very bullish on this stock. I called it out. I said, hey, we got Thanksgiving. We got to think about Weight Watchers. This is a seasonal trade. It's a seasonal trade. They got a buy rating on it right now. I see them right here on the 20th to $14. So if you look at the $14, I'd say kiss my ass, and I'd tell them maybe a hard resistance at 1171. Somewhere in that area with your first resistance to break right here. And that's where we are right now at 953. Thing pulled back and hit the 51 here on the weekly time frame. I think that would be a good entry point. Or the 65. I got the 65 EMA on here. I use it quite a bit. As a continuation or maybe even a hard resistance. But Weight Watchers, we've definitely had a good bounce off it already, and the next level was 1171. Once we break $10, that's the catalyst to get the fat cats in, no pun intended. Oh yeah, pun intended. So now we've got that all out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and head on out of here. And I wish everybody a great day. Stay tuned.